Hello, everybody. How are you? And welcome to Ascended Masters. We hope you woke to the most miracle morning and are also having the most fortunate day today. So, our soul sister here, Ali.
Levine, you're good.
Okay, all right, everybody. So you see, this is real time, right? So we're going through this. But anyway, I did want you to meet her because she's gone through an incredible journey as a successful entrepreneur and really now pivoting a bit, if you would, to really share her values, share her messages that she's learned on her journey called life to help us have a better existence. So this is really cool. It's really, quite frankly, all we got is each other, right, to help us, right? So Allie's got a great new podcast that's already starting to get syndicated right out of the gate. You're going to be hearing a lot more about her if you don't recognize her face already. All of her links will be in the description below, but we did want to bring her on here so you could really get a feel for when you do check her out on her podcast, what experience you're going to get to walk away with. So Allie, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm wonderful. I'm honored to be here. We have been chatting for quite some time, you and I, and been aligned from the start. So I'm just so excited to be here and be a part of your incredible platform and the light that you all bring to everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And again, it's really about what I was just mentioning earlier, as we go through the journey in life, it's like we kind of need to lean on each other and be like, well, what did you learn? What did
Absolutely.
you learn? And I know you've gone through a lot of experiences which have led you to a podcast, but a bit about your background. You're a celebrity stylist, yes?
Yes. Yep. I started in the fashion world, ever since I was, super little, 2, 3 years old. I would dress myself in all kinds of crazy outfits my parents tell me and go through my grandmother's closet. And just, I always loved fashion. I think I loved the way it transformed you and how it made you feel. So when I got to be a part of dressing others and watching their transformations, it was such a gift.
That's really, really cool. And so now talk to us now about that transition. So being in that world, okay, where everything is very surface oriented, everybody's
Yeah.
got to look like they need to do, and they have someone like you to help them get there. Talk about that from now, your journey of really looking within. Talk about how you've gone from the
Yeah.
outside to the inside and what was the trigger that got you there. And what was also the trigger, Ali, if you could, to help us understand. So now you say, okay, well, I'm going to not only just kind of live my life this way, I'm also going to share it now. What's gotten you there?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Those are good questions. So, like you said, I started in the celebrity styling world. I'm originally from New York, born and raised, and then I moved out to Los Angeles for the last decade. I'm now located outside of Nashville, Tennessee, but I was in California styling and was really going after my dream of being, like I said, a fashion stylist. And from there, I wound up on, the red carpet and television and all these places. And, over time, I didn't realize how much I was missing a piece of myself. And I was living so much in the ego where a lot of us, get stuck. And I couldn't figure out why every time I'd hit another milestone or I would, have another successful moment in my career, it just wasn't feeling like that. It wasn't this excitement. And to be quite honest, it wasn't until, the birth of my first daughter, Amelia, where I had a pretty traumatic birth that led to a C-section after 42 hours to then bring me into a very heavy postpartum depression. And it wasn't until that actually happened where I really felt like, God and source kind of put me on my butt and made me just be still. And I hadn't been still in my life in many years. I was very much on the auto grind, on the hamster wheel, didn't know when to stop. Even if I was told to stop and the universe was whacking me over the head, I still wouldn't stop. And then the postpartum depression really, it took me to a halt on a whole new level. And I remember trying to force myself to go to set and work with a client. And I sat in the back room while my assistant was on set and I was bawling my eyes out and I was just a mess. And I sat there and I was like, wow, I'm forcing myself to be here when like clearly something is off and I'm not even, dealing with anything. And I was just sitting crying in the room by myself. And I was, trying to pump because, that's what a new mother does and trying to get milk. And I was a disaster, honestly. And I turned to my assistant and I said, I'll be back later, but I got to go home and figure out what's going on and I'll be back. And I really thought in my mind I would be back. And that was my last day on set for a while. And I went home and I was spinning and I was crying. And I looked at my husband that night and I said to him in bed, I feel like I'm mourning the death of myself. And he looked at me like devastated. And I have to be honest, Jay, in that moment, I felt this like massive relief. Like all of a sudden, this like heavy weight that had been on me was lifted. And I looked at him and I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel. And he was like, okay, whoa, what do you mean? And I was like, no, this is so liberating for me. Like this feels so good. Like okay, I know that's how I feel now. Like, I don't know who I am. And like, I don't know what happened to me, but like, I don't know where that alley is. And so fast forward, after realizing that I needed some kind of help and I needed to, find myself all over again. Luckily, I was able to find a lot of holistic people around me because, of course, the medical system wanted to immediately put me on, different kinds of medication. And obviously, some people choose that route, but my soul knew better. My soul knew 6 weeks getting on a medication is not going to do what you actually need to do. You need to do the hard work. There's a reason why, you are where you are right now. And so I listened finally, probably for the first time in my life, to that inner calling. And I started, meditating and doing cognitive therapy and breath work and, gratitude journals. And the list goes on, just all different modalities that I had never tapped into in my life. To be quite honest, I made fun of them for quite some time. Meditation was something I couldn't even do for 2 minutes at first. And I was, spinning and looking at my one, a holistic therapist. And I said, I can't do this. And she's like, just 2 minutes a day, Allie, just 2, and you'll build up. And, I laugh now because, years being out of this, I now meditate every day, twice a day. And it's part of,
just
who I am.
Life now. Wow.
Yeah, it's part of my
amazing.
life now. And in that moment where it was like, I can't do it, I was just self-sabotaging myself and I was back into that ego. And so when I finally surrendered and said, you know what, this isn't getting better. You're not going to get to go slow, slow to fast in this. You're going to have to actually continue to go slow and progress. And once I surrendered truly, that was when the beauty happened. And I was able to start to really face my, heavier shadows and work through so much that I hadn't worked through and grieve a lot of the loss of myself before I was a mom and just so many things. But it opened me up into, when my daughter turned 1, I finally felt like I was finding the light in the tunnel and I was starting to feel like a new version of Allie, and I was able to look in the mirror and be like, okay, I like what I see and I'm feeling happy and I'm feeling content in this inner peace I probably never felt before in my life. And it's going to be okay. And I'm going to move through. And from that moment on, I remember looking in the mirror and, doing my makeup and my hair, getting myself dressed, which I hadn't done in quite some time. And I just felt like, okay, it's a beautiful, fresh new day and I'm moving forward. And from then on, I really committed to myself that I was always going to be finding that inner peace no matter what was happening in my life. And I was going to continue to work from my higher self and not the ego mindset that I've been stuck in for so many years.
You know what's interesting you said, and you mentioned it a couple of times, which I think is so fascinating, and I think very, very few of us even think like this, but we all go through a circle of life where we all, evolve or change or devolve, whatever that's your story is, right? Whoever that is for you, right?
Sure.
But what you mentioned, something which I thought was pretty profound, was how you said, it gave you the chance to grieve for your loss, of that other version of you.
Yeah.
So I think that's so important when you say that, and tell me how you felt like that, like really just to acknowledge that part of your life and be like, okay, thanks. Kind of like, was it like, hey, thanks for being there for me, I'm moving on now? Like, what is that like? What are the thoughts that go through your, because I know a lot of people watching, they probably picked up on what I just said. If they didn't, they did after I said it at least. But is that what's the thought process that goes into grieving your old self to say, okay, hey, I'm moving on? Like, how do you?
No, great question. First off, to be honest, I don't think I realized at first I was grieving my old self. I kept trying to grip onto who Allie was before with like dear life. And then, like I said, when I finally surrendered, and surrendering meant surrendering everything, who I was before, all these beliefs I had, all these different things, just surrendering it all, as scary as it was, it led me into a place of that, inner peace and finding my higher self and being like, okay, you know what? That was you for many years. And, that's great. And it built so much of you and you had so many transformations and you helped so many people, but now you're in a new space. And I think when I was finally able to acknowledge how much it had not only transformed me and I had helped transform others, but that it was also part of my journey and there was no mistake. And where I was at that moment was where I was meant to be. And also allowing that postpartum depression was necessary for my evolvement. Because at first I was in victim mode and I was so, mad. And I was so angry and I was angry at my C-section and all of these things. And when I finally started to surrender all of that and start to not just surrender, but also forgive myself for feeling all those things and have that grace to move forward, the more I celebrated going forward and allowing that grieving to happen, the more I was able to just let go of the past and realize that it was a story attached to me and it really wasn't where I was anymore. And it was part of the transformation.
I love that. That's such a great story, and thanks for sharing that. So
Yeah.
your podcast that you have coming, congrats to you, by the way, on that
Thank
as well.
you.
I'm really, really, really happy for you. So when people are going to watch this, going to listen to it, however they connect with it, what experience are you wanting them to walk away from after they've checked it? Like, what's your intent behind what the messages are that you'd like for them to get out of it, and also the feeling they'd like to get out of it after they watch it?
Yeah. So, Awakening with Allie, my new podcast you're talking about, it's all about awakening. Everyone's journey to awakening is different. And I learned that within my journey. And when I first went through it, I felt so alone and I felt so crazy, especially because the world right now wants to tell you you're crazy for experiencing it. And it's so the opposite of that. Obviously, if you're a part of this here, you know that, and your soul, brought you here for a reason. And when you tap into your higher self and you truly listen to your soul, so much magic unfolds. You've harnessed the gold inside yourself that's always been there. And so Awakening with Allie is all about that. I want to create this space, whether it's for healing for someone that needs it, it's for transformation for someone that needs it, it's expression for someone that needs it. Whatever you need to receive from this, it is to awaken the light within you and activate you on a whole new level.
Right on. That's pretty cool. All right. You're ready for this. I could feel you. You're ready. I love it. All right, everybody. I hope you're ready for it, everybody, because this is going to be fantastic. Our soul sister, Allie, she's coming here. She's not taking any punches, nothing. She's going through and she's making this happen, again, to help us in our journey called life, because that's how we all roll, right? So, Allie, thanks a lot. Much love. We do appreciate your service and what you're doing here to help humanity.
Thank you so much. Love, lifestyle, and blessings, Jay. Thank you.
Yeah, for you too also. And thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. All of Allie's information will be in the link below, so do make sure you check her out everywhere. You probably already recognize her, probably already seen her, but if you don't, again, all of her information is below. You're going to really love it. Okay, thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time.